Howdy, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Going to Attic Space. My name is Jason Boning, and I'm the owner of Uni-Serve Air Conditioning here in Houston, Texas, where we maintain, repair, and replace HVAC systems all across this great city, which we call Space City. So it's springtime here in Houston and means a couple things. It means that we have pollen raining from the skies. Not really. It seems like it with all these massive trees around here, but literally pollen all over the place. It's crazy. It also means that our AC systems are really starting to crank up. Instead of running 6 hours a day, they're now running 12 plus hours a day. And before no time, they'll be running 24 hours a day. um, but no, all kidding aside, we literally use our AC 12 months out of the year. And as we get into April and May, those things really do start to run almost all day. And then definitely June, July, August, they're running they literally could be running all day. But with that said, for us here at Uni-Serve, it's what we call maintenance season. And so we are going around visiting all of our maintenance customers and just checking out their systems. There's a lot of things that we do to check their systems. And in this episode, we just want to take a dive into why do maintenance? Is it really that important? And just talk through some of those things. So before I owned Uni-Serve, so if you know me and listen to some of the previous episodes, my background is a mechanical engineer, and so when I was in the full-on engineering mode, I paid an AC company to come over to my house and do maintenance. Um, I'll be honest, there was a lot of times when I'm like, what are they really doing? I'd watch the technician and I'm not going to throw the company under the bus. I'd love to, but I'm not going to do that. But they'd send a guy out and he'd literally just grab my water hose and just like spray the condensers and then try to sell me all this stuff. And I was like, come on, man, like what are you really doing anything? And that I think that can be the vibe with a lot of these bigger AC companies, right, that are heavily sales driven, that, oh, they're just going to go spray my condenser down and then try to sell me stuff. And now here at Uni-Serve, that's not what we want to be about. We really want to have a focus when we do maintenance, we really want to focus on maintaining your AC system. So before we kind of dive into some of that, some of the specifics there, I want to kind of give you some analogies. If you're like, what is maintenance? What are the benefits of it? Stuff like that. So let's just kind of talk about something that maybe everybody's familiar with. So, as humans, we have a heart. Okay. And so to relate that to an AC system, the compressor is kind of like your heart. All right. So the compressor pumps refrigerant throughout the system, just like our heart pumps blood throughout our body. We also have lungs where we breathe in oxygen and the oxygen is then absorbed into your bloodstream. Now, an AC system, there's kind of a breakdown here, but we have a fan or a blower motor inside your AC system that blows air across an evaporator coil. Now, there's no exchange, like in our bodies, there's an exchange of oxygen. I'm not a medical expert or anything like that, but so that's where the analogy breaks down a little bit. There's no exchange in the evaporator coil between the refrigerant and the air, but there is an exchange of heat. Okay, so the compressor is pumping refrigerant through the system, and then the blower motor is blowing air across the evaporator coil. And really, that the thing that is exchanged there is heat. And so that evaporator coil is taking heat out of the air and then blowing cold air into your house. Now, with that said, think about our bodies. Like when you go outside in the summer, think of if you were to put on a hoodie and say put on some sweats, put on a hoodie, and you start running. You're going to get hot pretty quick because your body isn't able to release heat as effectively as if you were wearing, shorts and a tank top or something. Okay. So think about your AC system, your condensing unit outside, which is trying to release that heat that got absorbed from the air inside. Now that condensing unit's trying to release the heat to the outside. if it's covered up in pollen and dirt and weeds from your yard guy weed eating all over there and getting all that stuff all over the condensing unit, and now it's trying to release heat to the outside air, it's almost like it's wearing a hoodie. It's really getting just covered up in whatever it is, like I said, dust, pollen. It just kind of builds up this film on that coil, and it just struggles to release heat as effectively as if it was just clean. All right. And so um, that's something we want to do, is we want to make sure that it's clean, it's able to release heat. Just like if you're running in a hoodie, you're probably going to want to take it off when it's 95, 100 degrees outside so that your body can, yeah, sweat, release heat, all that good stuff. Another thing to think about, let's kind of stick with this analogy. Say you're running, you got your hoodie on, your sweats. Let's say you were to put on some type of mask, something that was obstructing your breathing to where you're not able to breathe as much air. Now you're really going to be struggling. At least I know I would. I'm not in great shape. If I were to be running in 95-degree weather with a hoodie and some type of mask, not able to breathe, like I'm not going to make it very far. And so same thing with your AC system. If you have a dirty air filter, something that's plugged up pretty good with just, maybe you have pets, maybe lots of other contaminants inside the house, whatever it is, and that filter is getting plugged up, that condenser coil's dirty, your AC system is really going to struggle. And if it's too bad, it could literally just kill the system, where it would just the compressor would burn out, maybe the blower motor burns out, where you can actually have a pretty good failure. And so those two things alone, washing the condenser coil, changing your filters, those are pretty easy things. And those are some of the primary things we do when we do maintenance. We're going to check those air filters, make sure that they're nice and clean. And sorry, a little side note there, we've even had new customers, and we've gone up into their attic and saw that they have a media filter cabinet, and there was a filter in there that they didn't even know about. And yeah, we can tell you stories of how gross some of those can be. But some people don't even know that they have filters in certain parts of their system or in walls or ceilings or whatever, wherever they may be. And so we can definitely help you find those and then get them changed out so that your system can breathe, if you will. Um, and then, like I said, that outside condensing unit, we're going to make sure that we clean out any, leaves, pine needles, pollen, whatever it may be that fell inside that condenser cabinet, and then also do a nice rinsing of those condenser coils so that any of that film that may have kind of built up, or even just full on chunks of dirt and weeds and whatever else, that we get those cleaned off. And so what that does is it just allows your system to breathe and to release heat, if you will. So just like if you were to take a jog on a 95-degree day, you probably want to be wearing shorts and a tank top so that your body can release heat and you don't overheat. So hopefully those analogies help you, but those are really just a couple big things. Now, getting kind of a little bit deeper in the weeds on some of the other things we look at, we're really going to take a look at those electrical components. And on a typical AC unit, on that outside condensing unit, you're going to have a contactor and a capacitor. Those are just basic electrical components that need to work all the time. And if that capacitor is getting weak, then your compressor is going to have a hard time starting up. And it can actually damage the compressor if it's not, depending on how weak it gets, and kind of it's either not going to work altogether or it could put some extra strain on it. There's just different things that can happen. And so we're going to check the level of that capacitor, see what its capacitance is, check it against its rated values, and then let you know if you should go ahead and change it. That way we can prevent an outage during the hot summer heat that we're going to get into here before too long. The contactor, that's another basic component that we're going to check. Just make sure that it's uh, basically what it does is it responds to the thermostat. When the thermostat makes a call for cooling, it's going to pull in and energize that outside unit and just make sure everything starts up. It can go bad. There's a lot of things that can happen if it goes bad. And so we just want to make sure that those electrical components are working and going to keep that condensing unit turning on and off as needed. Um, we're also going to check the amperage that that compressor is drawing. And if it's drawing really high amps, that can start to tell us things like if when it's starting up, if it draws really high amps, pulling a lot of amperage, that's going to tell us that those start windings on that compressor can be going bad and can be reaching the point of failure. And there's a few things we can do to help that. So with if you've ever heard the term soft start, or that thing that you need to run your AC on a generator, it's called a soft start or an easy start. Well, what that can actually do is it actually reduces those starting amps for your compressor, and so it helps it start up on a generator. It can also help a compressor. It can actually extend the life of it a little bit by just reducing that wear and tear of those high amps on startup. Because the higher the amps, the more heat and just the more wear and tear that it can take on that compressor. We also have compressor savers or hard start kits that we can put on it. And once again, these things are either designed to help your system start up on a generator, or if you don't have a generator, just more importantly, just trying to extend the life of that compressor. And I mean, think about it this way. If, let's just use some nice round numbers here. If an AC system today lasts 10 years and it costs $10,000, that's roughly $1,000 a year. And so if we can get an extra year out of your system, then with the way we see it, that saves you $1,000. And so now our goal is to make it last longer than just 10 years. We want to try to get it to 15 years if we can, kind of the top end of that average lifespan. Um, but anyways, just like I said, trying to keep your system running a little longer if we can. Now, that's kind of yeah, what we do on the outside unit. Then we can move on into the inside, and let's talk about a few things there. And so, as I mentioned, that blower motor, that's circulating air inside your home, we want to make sure that it's operating at an optimal level. And once again, that those filters are changed so that it's able to move air as it's needed to. We're going to check the amp draw on it. If it has a capacitor, we'll check where it's at and just make sure that everything's in range where it needs to be. Also, another big thing, or let me back up. Just this is kind of a side note, but for if you have a gas system, your blower motor is actually inside the furnace. And so a lot of people think that here in the Houston area, you don't use your furnace. Well, we actually use that furnace year round. And like I said, most of us here in Houston have gas. And so we have a gas furnace, and that gas furnace contains the blower motor and the heat exchanger. And so yeah, we definitely need that blower motor whether we're heating or we're cooling. And so that's definitely something we need to look at every time we're out. Okay. The other thing we're going to look at is that the condensate drain lines. Now, it gets very humid. There's a lot of moisture in the air here along the Gulf Coast. And so our systems are going to be removing moisture. I mean, yeah, year round, but during these springs and summer months where that humidity gets really high and we get a lot of moisture in the air, we really need to make sure that those condensate drain lines are cleared out. And so we're going to clean those drain lines out. We'll put some pan tablets in there to just help some of the buildup that happens inside the primary drain pan and even in the drain line, that primary condensate drain line, and make sure that that condensate's flowing out of your house. Um, yeah, all through the summer. The other thing, we're going to check for safety things like a float switch. So in case that primary drain line does get backed up and then we start flowing into the secondary and it happens to get backed up, that then we have a safety float switch so that it would cut the system off so that we can prevent any overflow in your house. That's the last thing we want to see. And so we want to make sure that all the safety features are in place for that not to happen. And yeah, then yeah, other than that, we'll talk to you about some indoor air quality products. We know that like I said, the pollen's raining from the skies, and so allergies are just going berserk. I know we're kind of dealing with some of that here on our team, and stuffy noses, and anyways, not to get into all that, but yeah, we want to try to help with allergies, and we can do that with some indoor air quality products. And so we have air purifiers that we can put right inside your system. So instead of something that you plug into the wall and just kind of have, in a room, we can actually install something in your AC system so that it's basically providing 24/7 protection to help your indoor air quality. And so that helps with things like allergies, and then also just all the other stuff that we have floating around in our homes. And so we want to remove that stuff, purify it, purify the air, and just take good care of the indoor air that we have. And so we can do that with our AC systems. All right. Well, I hope that helps a little bit, kind of helps you understand the importance of maintenance, why we should do maintenance, and then a little bit of our process here at Uniserve. If you're not on a maintenance plan, we'd love to tell you more about it, how you can get signed up with us, and we'll come out once around this time of year, or even, hey, if you can't have us out until maybe August or September, we could definitely come out then and do a cooling check. But then we'd come out again, hopefully before it gets too cold, and do a heating check, and then get you on a 2 checks per year type of maintenance plan. All right, well, that's all I have. I hope that your spring is going well, and we'll roll right on into the summer and hopefully keep these ACs keeping us cool.